Welcome everyone again. My name is Ganesh and I'm the marketing manager at Inspire-Tech. Thank you for joining us and I'll be your moderator today. And today's topic is overcoming unstructured data challenges. So we have Eric live from IBM, Jerry Ray from SecureAge, and Ting Tekwe from Inspire-Tech with us. As you all know, IBM is recognized as a leader in storage industry by analysts and experts. So last year alone, they had over 30 awards in practically every category of storage. And SecureAge offers data-centric and intuitive security solutions and trusted by governments, research institutes, and forward-thinking organizations. And last but not least, Inspire-Tech provides easy-to-use and secure software products to boost workforce efficiency and productivity in both public and private sectors. And today is the third of the Future of Work webinar series. So if you were with us last 2 weeks, thanks for joining us again. And if it's your first time in our webinar series, welcome. And thank you again for being with us. Let me go to the agenda shortly. Yes. So we have the agenda here. Similar to last week, we will start off with why we've organized the Future of Work webinar series, then a short discussion on the challenges that enterprises face and what some trends that are happening. And after that, we'll have a short presentation from each company and a short summary on how these three solutions get together and overcome the unstructured data challenges in enterprises. Then we'll close off with another short discussion on the future tips and tricks from our speakers and a Q&A session. So since I mentioned the Q&A session here, here's a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. First of all, we'll be giving out some small gifts and we'll announce the winners after the Q&A session. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A button instead of the chat button on your Zoom control panel at the bottom. And we'll be collecting the questions during the presentation and we'll try to ask as many as possible. So yeah, to start, so before we get to the short discussion, why did we decide to create a webinar series called Future of Work? Because we wanted to highlight the importance of innovating and adapting to the latest trends, because a lot of organizations have already started their digital transformation journeys, but it was at a much slower rate than what we had to face this past year. And the pandemic has accelerated the transformation and changed some workforce trends already, such as the adoption of automation, digitalization, remote work, and more. So we decided to have these webinars to get together with our partner companies to discuss how we help organizations to address these challenges, ease the transition to this new normal, and prepare for the future of work. And we have planned 5 webinars in 5 weeks. So the webinars will continue on the same time, every Thursday, same time till 19th of November. We have 2 webinars left after this one. So we hope that you can find some time to join us in the upcoming webinars too. And today we will be looking at 3 products as a whole: IBM Flash System from IBM, then Secure Data from SecureAge, and EasiShare from Inspire-Tech. And our speakers will go through how these solutions solve unstructured data challenges with their own expertise and how they can help organizations to manage the influx in unstructured data, how to secure that data, and how to minimize the risks related to the lack of data governance. So with that, let's welcome our speakers, Eric, Jerry, and Tekwe. And welcome to the third webinar of the Future of Work webinar series. Thank you for being with us. Like I mentioned, we are starting with a short discussion with the question of challenges. So my question is, like, for all of you, when you look at the future of work, what are you all hearing from the clients as common pain points across industries? So what are the key challenges they are facing these days? Eric, would you like to start?
Sure, Gunesh. I think one of the key challenges we have seen from a lot of our customers is the rate of data growth. It is actually growing at a much faster rate than they anticipated. So one of the things we share with many of the customers that they need to look at the different type of storage solution that is suitable for the type of data that is and workload that is growing in their environment. This will also allow customer to optimize every dollar they use for their storage infrastructure. So data growth is actually a very key concern for a lot of my customers.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then Jerry?
Sure, thanks Ganesh. Probably not hard to guess from encryption solution is that our customers are facing issues with securing data as it's outside the natural confines of their environment, whether it's remote on people's machines taken into another workspace, their home, a coffee shop, what have you, or whether their employees are using their own devices. Both bring about unique challenges, but there's a threat to the data in either scenario.
Thank you so much. Takeaway?
Yeah, so for our side, I think the topic is really data governance. So I think along with what Eric mentioned about the growth in data, there is also a lot of concerns about the flow of data. And when we do with like what we do in EasiShare, which is with regards to file sharing, there's a lot of concerns about data loss. And increasingly, we are looking at customers trying to add on additional detective and corrective controls on top of their existing preventive controls. So we will see that in future, there are a lot more controls that organizations want to design and implement efficiently and effectively for their organizations.
Thank you so much. So like, thank you for sharing the challenges. So if we were to summarize like all three like the main points, the growth of the data, then the increase in the need to secure the data, and then the data governance in the organizations, right? So thank you again. We can also say that like, let me also summarize it with this structure. We can say that all these challenges like are interconnected, they're revolving around infrastructure, middleware, and user-facing software. So that's why the solutions chosen for each step, each level have to be able to integrate with each other and like seamlessly and then be compatible with the existing systems and processes, right? So with that, Eric, I'd like to pass it to you, our first speaker. Would you like to share your screen? Yeah, it's coming. Yes, so Eric from IBM, he's the systems channels and market expansion leader. So over to you, Eric.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today I'm going to share on our IBM flash system storage family. So IBM, I think Gunish mentioned, IBM is recognized as the leader in storage industry by many analysts and experts. In 2019 alone, we actually won over 30 awards in practically every category of storage. So don't just take my word for it. IBM has been named a leader by Gartner 25 times in 6 reports and 4 times in 2 reports by IDC. So our other storage, IBM Cloud Object Storage, is also an industry leader. Is a cost-effective storage platform for cloud-native application. Our system is easy to manage at scale and is used by customers who store many of the world's largest object storage system. So from this page, we can see that IBM Cloud Object Storage is the industry leader and have won many awards over the years. So with this slide, I'll introduce the IBM Flash System family. Starting from the Flash System 5000, our entry enterprise storage through Flash System 7000 series, and ending with the range with our Flash System 9000 series, which is the fastest and highest performing model in the Flash System family. We have our SAN volume controller, which is for customer who wants to do storage virtualization and replication without storage capacity. And lastly, we actually have our storage software for customer who wants to connect flash system to cloud for various cloud strategies. So when IBM designed the flash system, the objective is to create a fast and powerful feature-full storage solution while making it easy for customer to use it, and so that our engineer actually created a similar user interface across the whole flash system family. So this is one of the features that is very well liked by all our resellers and also customer. They do not need to relearn how to use the system across the 5000, 7000, and the 9000 series. So a lot of customers have concern about unstructured data growth. Flash systems have hardware compression that helps customer reduce the storage usage while also maintaining performance level. A lot of the vendors give you compression, but they will have performance reduction when they use compression. So IBM maintains performance while giving you great compression ratio. Flash system has replication feature built in the firmware that allows customer to design a HA or high availability and disaster recovery architecture in their storage environment. With our HyperSwap feature, we guarantee 100% data availability to our customer. So if you want 100% data availability, use our HyperSwap feature. For customer who's looking for hybrid cloud architecture, flash system is able to connect to the various cloud resources to perform a variety of functions like business continuity, development ops analytics, cyber resiliency, or even workload migration. So this is the trend we are looking at where customer is doing hybrid cloud. They want partial on-prem storage and partial cloud based storage. So this is what flash system is able to do for our customer. So our customer can use our free software, Storage Insight, to monitor the health, capacity, performance of the flash system storage. They can also use this free software to monitor other vendors' storage health and performance as well. But that will require customer to upgrade to the Storage Insight Pro version, which comes with a small monthly subscription to IBM. Okay. With our Storage Insight, it will also auto-create a support ticket to IBM if it detects any issue with the flash system. It is like the call home function we used to have for our enterprise range storage. But now this is available to all our customers for free. They just need to access to our Storage Insight software. Storage Insight will also recommend best practices on how to configure and fine-tune the storage unit. So customer is sort of like having an on-site expert to guide them to how to fine-tune and configure their flash system. So the best practices recommendation is actually done by AI analytics at the back end. So customer can be assured that these are very good best practices recommended to them. Okay, one of our key feature is our IBM Spectrum Virtualize software that it runs in all our flash systems. So all our flash system from the 5000, 7000 to the 9000 series runs IBM Spectrum Virtualize as the firmware. So with this, we can actually virtualize other vendor storage. And also, this is very similar like how VMware do virtualization on a physical server. IBM is the pioneer and it is still the leader in terms of storage virtualization with more than 500 storage unit that we can actually virtualize. So what's the benefit of this storage virtualization? So with storage virtualization, we make data migration painless for customer. We call it transparent data migration. Once we connect IBM flash system into your storage infrastructure, customer can start data migration while the server and application can continue to run. So the downtime for customer, it is reduced. So we only have downtime to set up the flash system in the environment, and we can actually run the system having the application running while we do the data migration. After migration is done existing storage unit can be recycled into the storage pool and continue to use for extra capacity or even as storage repository. So this allows customer to save money on the existing systems. They can reuse them. So customers who are actually worried that storage capacity and performance required continue to grow can be assured that with flash system, it is a very easy system to scale in terms of performance or capacity. So we can grow up to petabyte in storage while still giving you enterprise grade performance. So this is something that we assure our customer. Okay, for customer who wants to control their own encryption key on their storage, flash system actually allows customers to use their own encryption key. So customer do not need to use only IBM, but they can use various vendors encryption key if they want to. Okay, lastly, IBM flash system have a utility offering. So we charge a base subscription for the storage, and over the months or over the weeks, if you have various capacity usage, we will charge you quarterly. So you only pay for the extra storage only when you use them. So we do not charge you upfront for the capacity that you don't use. We charge you from the base subscription. Anything you exceed the base, we will charge the extra usage. So this provides customer with a cloud-like payment method while having an on-premise storage unit. So this is actually an offer that is being taken up by a lot of customers who wants to move away from CapEx and into OpEx model for their storage infrastructure. So this we can actually run a storage utility offering together with EasiShare application as well. So thank you for my attention. So this is the end of my slide. If you'd like to know more on IBM Flash system, do reach out to us. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for going through the functions of IBM Flash system and like how it implements the compression also with high performance, and then it is scalable as well. Jerry, the stage is yours. So do you want to share your screen?
Yes, thanks so much for your time today. Since today's theme is overcoming unstructured data challenges, my earlier comment about what we're facing with this extension of work, where workplaces are going to the home, they're going to other environments, they're going to different devices that we can't control. We really concentrate our efforts here at SecureAge on unstructured data. It's still over 90% by any estimate I've seen online of the total volume of data that's out there. So as we get into how we're doing it, let's give a real quick background of who we are here at SecureAge. We do have quite an array of encryption products. It's 17 years of doing so. We've been providing security to the government military of Singapore throughout that entire time, parts of the Hong Kong government, as well as the Japanese government. And we have a number of private industry clients as well, who I'm listing very quickly on this slide, just so you can be familiar with who and where we are. We've expanded in the past 18 months to 5 offices worldwide, in addition to what we've been doing here in Singapore. And all of that is based on what we're doing for unstructured data, wherever that data happens to reside. One of the solutions to this that everyone points to very quickly when you have unstructured data is encrypt everything. Just go ahead and take away the risk associated with having something that is sensitive or insensitive and only taking care of the sensitive portions. So if you encrypt everything, most people in that next scenario decide that full disk encryption might be the answer. And that's the one people get to. However, not every encryption tool has the same value. Full disk encryption turns out to be a hardware encryption piece. So as I was mentioning, full disk encryption is something that people think is the tool that does encrypt everything. It does, but at a cost of that data not being accessible, you not being able to process any of it. Volume encryption is really the next step there. And still with volume encryption, you've got to open up the volume, or else nothing can do anything for your processes and your applications or your executables. So in the end, you've still got vulnerable files once you open the volume, once you open the disk. So solving that big problem is what we've developed here at SecureAge as an automatic file level encryption tool that's fully transparent. So all of the unstructured data, any file type, any application type, anything it generates, it still has access to whether a volume is open and running the way we need it to be. We could be on the IBM Cloud servers and still access our data in real time. So what you'll need to look for in any real-time file level encryption tool is being sure that you're able to encrypt all the data, regardless of its classification, that your algorithms are sound, that you've got alerts, notifications of what's going on where, you've got some type of central management tool, you have awareness of a data breach, and you just don't want any of this to impact usability. That's always key. Unstructured data is data that's being used, it's being built, it's being generated in all different formats from different users worldwide. So the next key thing is to make sure that that intrusion is at its minimum. We do this with our invisible file level security. We're completely agnostic to the documents, to the media, to any of the applications, and as well as the format of that data. So it could be structured data types that are in large scale databases. We treat that as a piece of unstructured data. Everything here is addressing the unstructured data issue, and we are completely agnostic to all of those. Anything you throw at us, we're going to be taking care of. The next thing we're agnostic to is the location. So whether this happens on your local disk, a server, or anywhere in the cloud, that persistent encryption provided by secure data is going to travel with that file wherever it goes. So if you look at what we're offering, it's really that the security is inherent. It's part of what that file is. We take away the productivity issues that are usually brought about with any other type of encryption tool that requires people to be aware of encryption, requires them to decrypt something. None of that comes into play with secure data. We want everyone to have a seamless work experience with no awareness that we're even there. The other things that we can point to, I mentioned productivity, the implementation. It's that we're based on open standards of PKI. Our algorithms are open ones that people understand. AES 256, triple DES, RSA, SHA, elliptical curve. You can add as many as you want. You can take out anyone at any time. And as an added bonus, once you've got that AES 256 encryption level in there, it almost always has you compliant with most of the stringent compliance regulations that are out there. Out of the box, you're now covered for GDPR, PDPA, at least the technology portions of that. I mean, these are just a few that have come up over the past few years that are inspiring people to get excited about encryption again. And when I look at where unstructured data is, how it's generated, who's using it, you need something that takes care of every file, every place, every time, without user interference and ideally without awareness. And that's what we've done here with secure data. So one final technology that we have is that application integrity. We ensure that anything that executes was allowed to execute. We have an allow listing component. We have something called application binding as well, which says that this application type can only access these specific file types. This is something that helps to prevent against advanced persistent threats or zero-day types of attacks that really ensure that when you grant an application the ability to access that encrypted file, that it's only going to be an application you trust and only a file type that that application was allowed to touch. So with that, the biggest benefit people are seeing in what our design of secure data is the ability to share. And that's very important for this remote work life that we're all going through now, whether it is on devices that your company has issued you, on your own device, you can still share those files, you can still collaborate, and that collaboration comes at no cost. You double click a file for access. There's no password, there's no decrypting. Again, that's automatic and invisible. So in a few final words of what it is, secure data is just one piece of what we call our SecureAge suite, where we have other utilities, secure files, secure disk, and in addition to something called secure email. These are all integrated and running on top of the same encryption, decryption engine, calling into play all of the same certificates, keys, and otherwise, again, without user awareness or interference. And on top of all this, we've got a number of hardware options for people who want to have control of an oversight of the policies, SSL VPN, everything else you need to work remotely. But primarily, our goal is to make sure that unstructured data is secure at all times, regardless of the location, regardless of the user, and regardless of the infrastructure. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Like, thank you again for talking about like secure data, like how it helps organizations to encrypt their files and effortlessly, and like you said, without the user interference and like transparently. Techway, then I will like pass the stage to you. So he's from Inspire-Tech. He's the EasiShare product manager, and he'll be going through the data governance related features of EasiShare as well. Thank you. Techway, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ganesh. Okay, so I would like to just like quickly start off with who is Inspire-Tech. We are established in 2000 and we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Headquartered in Singapore, we have been providing solutions for government and enterprises. And as Ganesh has mentioned, for today, we are focusing on our product, EasiShare. So what is EasiShare? It really started off with the name as a file management and file sharing solution during the days that we are focusing about mobility and productivity previously. And with the evolving needs and all the risks about data loss and those sort of things, we have added governance as part of a key area that we look at. And as a result, now what we really have is an enterprise file security solution that we can use to manage, share, and govern files. So then the next question will be then what is EasiShare used for? So we have many use cases and we broadly categorize them into two perspectives, one being the IT leaders and the second being the users. So for the IT leaders, we typically look at the more security and infrastructure driven initiatives. So for example, like infrastructure modernization, where our customers want to adopt modern technologies, but they want to do it in a way that minimizes disruptions to their users. And at the same time, we see trends of organizations banning USB drives and banning SMB protocols due to the security risk that's often associated with the use of such devices and protocols. And while they are doing the ban, they actually have to provide solutions for their users as well. And that is another area that EasiShare comes in. Over at the end user, they are always looking for workplace productivity and at the same time with the security controls in place. That means that implementing the security controls without affecting their productivity. So for example, we see organizations also banning consumer file sharing tools due to, again, the risk that's associated with it. So often the users need a solution in such a case during the implementation of these controls. And another common scenario we hear is that users are always asked to back up, but they are often not equipped with the right tools, so they are forced to manually copy and paste to perhaps an external hard disk or put it somewhere that they consider it as a backup. So there is this demand for better tools for end users to do endpoint backup. And this is really just a quick scenario about quick summary about Inspire-Tech and EasiShare. Before I delve deeper into EasiShare, I would like to perhaps let us think about today's topic, which is data governance. So while thinking about what is data governance, I thought that I could have gone to Google and I would have a clear definition of what is data governance, and it probably matches what I think of data governance. But in reality, I realized that when you try to Google it, there is all sorts of information about data governance, which perhaps is the reason why this topic is very complex. And I see that maybe there are organizations that are struggling with it due to all the high-profile data breaches that we see on the news commonly. So for this webinar, I really would just want to simplify and let us go back to the basics of PPT, people, process, and technology to appreciate the concept about data governance. So typically, we start off with thinking about the stakeholders, such as thinking from the angle of data protection officers and their data owners, as well as their users that are consuming data. Next, organizations would have been formulating policies and SOPs on what they want their organizations to do when they're handling certain data and certain use cases. And finally, then technology is really coming in, usually almost at the part when we are talking about enablement. So it's really coming in as an enabler. Specifically, one case is that it's really about enabling better implementation of the controls that was formulated in the process stage, in the SOPs and in the procedures. Yeah. Then, so along with the concept of controls, before I move to EasiShare, it's really thinking about what is controls about. And with that, I would like to use a simple scenario. So if today you will need to protect your home, what would you be thinking of? First, you may be putting some gates and fences. So that forms what we really call as preventive controls. Next, you may be thinking of putting some CCTVs to monitor the surroundings of your home. And that really forms part of detective controls, whereby you can do reviews on the CCTVs in case you suspect there is something that might have happened to your house. And for the more sophisticated ones, they may even be installing special alarm systems linked to security operations to catch any criminals in case there's any break-in. So it's really a similar concept in IT that we have multiple different controls, multiple different technologies that enables organizations to put in place controls. And the reason of bringing in this is because establishing the technology's role in enabling controls is exactly the same concept that we apply when we think about data governance in EasiShare. And what I will do today is that I will highlight 4 key features that we have in EasiShare that can really help organizations overcome the unstructured data challenges they face, especially in the realm of data governance. So I'll briefly be talking about access control, which is preventive in nature. Along with it, I will explain a little bit more about a new feature that we recently introduced, which is on access review. So mainly it's used for detective and certain corrective actions, such as updating the permissions. And then there is a policy control, which is closely tied with access control. And finally, I'll quickly run through also the audit logs element in EasiShare. Okay, so I'm really going to jump into the first and the third point together because they have similarities. So often there's a lot of confusions that I get asked, like both of these are preventive in nature. So it seems like they are the same, but yet it seems like they are different. So I would like to use the house example again to contrast and let us all appreciate what's the difference between access and policy then. So imagine a scenario whereby you have a guest coming to stay over at your home for a while, and you probably will pass him a key to your door to allow him to come into your house. And after that, you probably tell him that you have some house rules, like for example, when you use the kitchen, please no heavy cooking. So in essence, the key is really the access control portion when you think about it. And the house rules portions is really the policies that you put in place. So from a data perspective, and even in EasiShare, that's where our features are designed to handle this difference in expectations and use cases. So in EasiShare, on the access control side, we have the drive permissions and the manage folder permissions in 2 layers to have the flexibility to manage. And then on the policy side, that's where we can set certain things like file size restriction, file types restriction, to have the additional house rules, if you will look at it, to control how users use the system. And the next point is our new feature. So in the access review portion, so some of you might know that there is a lot of requirements that data owners have to review the access of the data when they look at the permissions. So the common challenges that we see is that the reports are usually manual, resulting in inaccuracies. There could be no replies from data owners, resulting in a control failure because the execution of this detective control is not happening. So how EasiShare helps is in 3 simple steps. We have added this feature into EasiShare natively. And let us go through the steps. So first, system admin can trigger this exercise directly from EasiShare admin portal. upon executing this, data owners will receive a notification to do this review, and they can easily go to EasiShare portal to do this. And all they need to do is to review through and decide whether there's any permissions that could be redundant already and quickly delete it. So this form of quick deletion upon this review within the same screen is really the corrective part, whereby a redundant access is removed during the review immediately. And these 3 steps is really how EasiShare is trying to make the process of this access review, which is typically currently done manually, to be more efficient and increase the effectiveness of this control. And the last part about EasiShare will be with regards to the audit logs. So currently, we see that audit logs are mainly used for investigations and troubleshooting, which is why the product EasiShare is designed that the logs are easy to read and easy to analyze. Now, what we do see is that in future, customers will be expecting more insights and predictions, perhaps even going to some real-time smart alerts, and even predictive capabilities coming into space. So for today, that's all that I'll be sharing, because we have arranged for a session particularly with regards to logs analytics and stuff in 2 weeks later, which Gunesh will also be sharing the details in our webinar 2 weeks later on the 19th of November. And with that, I really just summarize some key features we have in EasiShare that really helps organizations implement controls relating to data governance and focus on the efficiency and effectiveness of the controls. And the next part, I really just want to gel everything together, because you might be wondering, after hearing 3 solutions, how it might all come together. But before that, I probably will paint this scenario for you first, which is actually the common pain points that IT faces with regards to unstructured data. So again, it's really about growth of unstructured data. Then there's difficulties in managing the infrastructure and the resources to cope with it. Then you may be considering to use something new. And then now you have compatibility issues due to your existing workflows, existing systems in your organizations. Or you could be worrying about the disruptions that you bring to users. And there might be some systems that are complex to adopt, often resulting in project failures. And on the encryption end, currently users might be forced to use traditional means, such as zipping up documents with a password. And with more threats in today's environments, I would say that we all know that this is no longer sufficient and we need something better. So how will the combined solution look like? You may first start off with an existing storage, and you're considering to deploy something like IBM flash systems. And you want both of them to coexist and give your users a unified interface. So that's where EasiShare comes in. And finally, in the encryption portion, that is where you put in place SecureAge, as Jerry has mentioned, to provide that seamless encryption that was explained. And I think this is really a simplified illustration of what potentially could come out from it. Real-world problems, we all know, are much more complex than this. So feel free to come to us, tell us the specific problems that you might be having, and we definitely have a solution for you. And with that, I will end my section of this webinar and hand it over back to Gunesh.
Sure, thank you, Takeaway. So thank you again for going through the EasiShare features and then related to the data governance issues while managing the unstructured data, and the summary of how the 3 solutions work together. And then before we move on to the Q&A, let me share my screen. So I would like to ask our speakers the question of the future. So again, Eric, Takeaway, and Jerry, thank you for your all individual presentations. Can you please share a few recommendations to all of us, so we can just all take away with us from this webinar. When you look at the future of work, what are some tips and tricks that you can share with us, like with your expertise? Eric, you want to go first?
Sure, Ganesh. Okay, so what we are seeing a lot in for future is a lot of the customer now is exploring hybrid cloud architecture, whether is it in their application or whether is it in their storage or even some of their workflow. They want to make it into a hybrid cloud. Previously, everybody was on-prem, and there was a time everybody jumped on the cloud bandwagon, everything on cloud, and now they find out after everything on cloud is actually quite costly, and sometimes there's a performance issue. So they break it down to a hybrid cloud, some on-prem and some in cloud. So it gives you performance and cost benefit and give you a flexibility in terms of how you want to do your workload, storage and application as well. So hybrid cloud, explore a hybrid cloud architecture in your environment, whether be it storage, application, workload, or even processes.
Thank you too. Jerry?
Sure, thank you. I'm following up on what Eric said. We've seen similar trend of cloud access, cloud storage, cloud processes, and that's in part driven by an uptick in mobile device usage. So in particular for SecureAge, when things were on-premise, your own data stores, all your applications ran locally, we've seen the transition to the cloud where people are accessing SaaS deployed tools such as Salesforce or Google Docs or otherwise that are all sharing a common browser. So when it comes to sharing the browser as the single application for various data types that are stored elsewhere, everyone's recognizing the risk that you're giving up your security to third-party vendors and relying on their security protocols and their security tools. Well, one trend I'd say that's in our favor is the redesign, the re-application, if I can say that word, of taking these web-based tools and now building apps around them. And you see that mostly on the mobile experience today. You access a travel site and it'll ask you to go to the mobile app version instead of the web version. Well, that mobile app architecture is something that they believe is far more secure. And we'll see a lot of that on desktops in the future, where we're going to have sandboxed packages of sort of the equivalent of a mobile app on your computer. Rather than visiting the Salesforce website, you will have the Salesforce equivalent app. You'll still be storing on the cloud, but by having the app locally, there's much more that we can do as a company. It's good for secure data, but also the security can be reconsidered, that you're not just at the mercy of those cloud vendors. Thanks.
Thank you too. Pei Kui?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really about the reality that it's no longer a few big softwares that perhaps will be in our workplace. So our workplace will generally evolve to having more and more tools, sort of like what Jerry mentioned about the devices. There will be more and more people on mobile devices. And similarly, in terms of the tools that are available to users, the diversity is going to increase. Specifically for something like EasiShare as a collaboration tools, the question that I get most is that users have so many tools. Will they be confused about how they use all these tools? Some are on the cloud, some are on premise, and the larger the organization, the more tools that are available. So the little tip and how I really think about this is that as I work with some of my customers, the most important thing is really going back to the use cases. So for example, even in something such as like what we do with regards to files and unstructured data, there are some which is files that is used for quick collaboration, something that is just zooming in and out. And then after that, you have some use cases which might be shared drive concepts, where they constantly have a systematic structured workflow that they have to follow. Or it could be some personal space that's required for personal work files, such as backing out of personal work-related, work in progress kind of documents. And it could be a repository for knowledge management, or it could even be archival systems. So I think the key thing is really to establish the right use cases and then to educate the users which tools are for which particular use cases, and that gives clarity for users as to why they're having so many similar technologies and tools that they're using. And then we probably will get into and embrace this future of work that we're talking about. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentations and sharing your insights with us. Now we can actually move on to the Q&A. And while doing that, we already have received a couple of questions. So please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to write your questions. And I would like to ask first, Tekwe, while I had you just now, does EasiShare have like a classification feature? Do you mind answering that while I am searching for other questions?
Yeah, sure. I think data classification has definitely been the topic nowadays as we talk about things like confidential and stuff. So EasyShare does have a feature called document tagging that helps with this. And in our first webinar, in fact, with our partner Tiger, we also have certain capabilities there where we talk about using AI to help with classification. So these are some of the future developments that we foresee for our product as well, and to have that capabilities as we embrace what is upcoming next.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Jerry, then do you mind taking this? I know you have answered it also, but I would like to also ask you live. So you mentioned about file level encryption, but how about the disk level encryption? So does SecureAge not advocate for disk level encryption? Do you mind answering that one?
No, there's no conflict at all. Okay, thanks. No, there's no conflict, and there's no attempt to disparage full disk encryption. I think it's a very sound solution, particularly for making sure that laptop is secure when you're going through an airport. If it's lost or stolen, no one can access it. And there's an added benefit of making sure that the properties of all the files, the metadata of those files is also hidden, whether it's file names or file structure. We should secure data, our BitLocker, any third-party type full disk encryption tools, and we have our own called Secure Disk. The difference is that you can make that disk any size up to the size of your own hard drive, and you can share it. You can also take that same content and put it in the web disk. So, we recognize the benefits, and we want to work in conjunction with all of third-party offerings.
Thank you so much. Then I have another question for Eric. So I'm trying to split the questions also. In the meantime, you can still write the questions under the Q&A. So you have already mentioned about cloud-only challenges, but this is just can you just summarize it? Then I have another question for you.
Okay, so a lot of the customers that actually share their experience with us when they move everything to cloud. Initially, the charges seems to be cheap, but when they have a lot of ingress of data, where they move data from their on-premise to the cloud and to cloud to their on-premise, this transfer of data actually add up to the cost every month. So after they did a couple of years, they see that it is very expensive. And every time if they want to migrate the system back to their on-premise, it's going to cost them a lot. So basically, they're in a situation where they are stuck, where they can't move out and they don't want to move more to the cloud. So what they do is they start to move new workloads to on-premise and do a hybrid cloud architecture where some still stay in the cloud, some will be on-prem. So whatever you think that doesn't need performance and have the benefit to be on cloud, they leave it on the cloud or they shift it to cloud. And on-premise, they can actually reduce the requirement in terms of the hardware, the requirement for the hardware. So they reduce the cost on-premise and have the flexibility of cloud. This is what we're seeing a lot of customers doing now. But having said that, the hybrid cloud architecture, it is very complex. It is best to talk to some vendors or some expert out there who can actually advise the customer what would be a better way to go approach to the hybrid cloud architecture.
Yeah, it changes with the organization's needs also, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. Jerry, do you mind taking this also? Sorry, I lost your visual, but I hope I can hear you. So what are the a few challenges in data encryption?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me as well.
Yes, yes. Okay, your visual is back. Okay.
Okay, great, great. The challenges are what I referred to a bit ago, even that future part, that there are more SaaS deployed applications and tools out there, that secure connection between that cloud application provider, such as Salesforce is a great example, between Salesforce and the browser in which people are accessing it is something that nobody can get between. And that's by design. You have HTTPS is that secure protocol. And to encrypt that data that people are putting into those web browsers, while we can do it, it locks us down to a specific browser or a specific build of that browser. Every additional update then requires us to rebuild. And that's something that is posing a challenge for everybody. One solution that's out there right now is tokenization, that one specific field, say for example, your IC number that you fill out in some type of web form, that will be concealed and encrypted while every other field is open and available. That's something that is less than ideal. There's a lot of issues involved with that. So we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of challenges as SaaS becomes the norm, as on-premise goes away for many people. But we're excited that other things are in our favor. What I mentioned before about apps and the structure of mobile security coming back and bringing that diversity to everyone's workstation should give us another opportunity and should give users, more importantly, some assurance that they're in control of security, not the SaaS provider.
Since we have mentioned a lot about cloud, so I have one question. Tekve, you want to take this? So like EasiShare, can it be also deployed on cloud? So for the deployment options, I think, yeah.
Yes, so definitely we can be deployed on cloud. So I think with today's environments, as we talk about previously the speakers have mentioned about hybrid, on-premise, now there's even multi-cloud. We talk about edge and edge computing and all sorts of things. So we acknowledge that the requirements from customers in terms of architecture and deployment options will be diverse, and EasiShare itself as a software is definitely built to be flexible to cater to all these scenarios, including the cloud as well.
With that, we are out of time almost, so I would like to thank all of the speakers. So if you have written us any more questions, we will get back to you offline. So we wrap up on a set time already, and let me thank again to all of our speakers, and then okay, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Give me a second. Yes. So we have 2 more webinars left in our webinar series, File Security Beyond Corporate Walls and Reimagining the Digital Workplace in the New Normal. And we have new content each week, so do join us also. And if you want to join to the next week's one, you can just use the QR code here about the File Security Beyond Corporate Walls. And after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to announce the winners before we go off from this webinar on. Okay, so I will just read out the names and we will contact you after the webinar. So, and we'll arrange the logistics later. We have Peishi Cheng and Veronica Eng and Annie Lee. If I have mispronounced, I'm apologizing for that. And after that, thank you so much for spending your hour with us. Eric, Tekve, Jerry, like all of you, thank you again for your presentations and again, your insights. See you next week if you do join us. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye-bye.